Welcome from Liberty Refreshment. I'm your host, Raymond Newby.
And I'm Arlen Elkins. And Raymond, today our topic will be the Entered Apprentice Degree, a new beginning.
So today we're talking about the EA degree. So Arlen, let me ask you, how'd you feel on your EA? Well, first let's start off. It's been a while ago. So when did you first come into Lodge? Let's start at the very beginning.
I came into the Lodge in the winter of 1981.
Okay.
It's been quite a while ago, and I do remember those days.
Okay.
I remember the first time that I came to Lodge. I had a little turbulent experience getting started. Nothing that the Lodge done or anything, but just due to some unfortunate events,
Right.
things were delayed for a couple months. First of all, being my uncle forgot to turn my petition in on a business meeting night, and everybody knows in Masonry, if it's not done a business meeting night, you have to wait till the next month, in our case, for the next business meeting night. So then, of course, the committee was the investigating committee and everything, and I went through, and I was accepted the following month, and I came to the Lodge, and back then, as we still do now, we invite the wife or a girlfriend to come with the candidate that night to do what we call flip chart, or it's a little introduction to your first degree, and it's something that your wife can see as well. It doesn't give any of the secrets of Freemasonry away or anything like that, but it lets her see that, what's going on here in the Lodge. It's just a group of men, and we're gathered together, fellowshipping and everything. And so we done that, and then my wife had to leave so that I could stay for the degree. And we had a brother fall on the floor with a heart attack.
In the Lodge? Or?
Here in the Lodge, in our downstairs dining area.
Okay, not during.
Not during Lodge, but in our downstairs dining area. And back at that time, there were no cell phones.
Right.
I mean, there may have been one on a James Bond movie or something, but we didn't have one. Right. And we didn't even have a phone in the Lodge. I mean, there was really not much of a need for a phone here at the Lodge. So we had to run across the street to a neighbor to even call an ambulance. Right. And in the meantime, several brothers done CPR and things, and the brother lived for a few days. He and two of his sons were Masons here, and his sons are still members.
So what did you think? Because that's before you even...
That was before I even took my degree. Yeah, so I'd already been held off the first month, because my uncle forgot to turn my petition in, and then I had to wait a month while I was investigated, and then I come that night, and of course they canceled Lodge out of respect, and which was fine. And I thought, maybe this is something I'm not supposed to do, Right. So, but I came back the following month after that.
Did y'all not? Y'all didn't? I'm assuming you didn't do the.
No, they closed Lodge. Right. I mean, we never even opened the Lodge. Everybody went home. I mean, we were in prayer for him, and some of the brothers went to the hospital and went to be with his wife and everything. I mean, it was very traumatic.
I can imagine.
My wife had already left here, so she didn't witness any of it or anything. But it was a little bit different. But even now, as we're doing this podcast, I look over, we have an IED, which would have been good.
AED.
AED. Yeah. Which would have been good to have that evening. Right. But
and I know we have first responders in Lodge now with us, and so.
Yeah, we have several first responders, even med flight pilot as an officer, and different things now. But just thinking back about my experience. But the next month, everything started sailing through, just smooth sailing from then on. But it was kind of like my first day at school. I was nervous, not know what to think. I couldn't cry for Mom, though, because Mom couldn't help me through that.
Did you know very many people in the Lodge?
I knew my uncles. They were all here, my mom had 6 brothers, and every one of them belonged to the Lodge here. And they were all here that night. And and hear subsequent degrees that
Right.
I took.
So at least you had some big brothers there.
Well, yeah, but I'm telling you, they were pretty rough on me. Yeah, they wouldn't tell me anything, but
Right.
it wasn't bad. I lived through it. It was a very good experience, really.
Right.
Thinking back on it, I developed some friendships with people that I didn't know at the time that still today are very close
Right.
friends.
Yeah.
Guys that I fished with and talk with on a weekly
Right.
basis and
Yeah.
stuff now.
Well, I think we
It's very
talk more
good.
than weekly. We talk pretty much every day or every other day now.
Yeah, usually, especially doing the podcast
Right.
and everything. But no, what about your experience?
So I didn't know anybody here. Well, actually, I knew one brother and he doesn't come to the lodge. But I knew he was a member here, and so actually I got with him, and he's the one who got me the petition. And whenever I come in, like I said, I'd never even seen the inside of a lodge before, ever coming in here. I knew my dad was a Mason, and it's always, and I knew several really good men who were Masons, and just kind of felt a drawing, almost felt a calling to join a lodge. And so, I came in, and once again, I'm not normally or before, I was never really a social person. I mean, I like everybody. Everybody likes me, but I'm not an extrovert. I'm pretty introverted. So, I was kind of real nervous. I remember that. And actually, I think you were one of the first people I talked with. I went in, did the flip chart, did all that stuff. And I know I just kind of, like I said, I didn't have any expectations. It's like I'm just going to follow whatever goes along, go with the flow. And so it went really good. I do remember one part, which I don't want to say because it's part of the actual ritual, but I mean, it was pretty, I don't even know how to describe it. It was almost like being reborn kind of a feeling, or it's kind of like, oh, it's, but I was, like you said, it's like the first day of school, showing up, not knowing anybody. And then by the time you leave after the first day, it's like you've got all these new friends you want to run home and tell everybody about, run home and tell your mom about.
Yeah, guys
So,
calling, checking on you and everything,
right.
seeing
Yeah.
how you're doing.
Yeah. So it was pretty, like I said, pretty exciting.
There were some things that happened to me. You just piqued my made me think about. Like you say, there's things that we can't really talk about because we don't want to divulge any of the secrets or anything, but we don't want to take away from any good thing that someone might receive, give them a heads up about
Right.
it, because there's things that happen to you while you're taking the degree that are very enlightening, things that you don't really think about.
Right.
But after it happens, you think, man, that was so simple. Why had I never thought about that? When it comes to even like helping someone, and we're taught not only to help our brothers, but to help all mankind. What do you think? I mean, historically, I know, we've been taught that the ancient stone cutting, the stonemason guilds and things throughout history that built all the grand cathedrals and stuff throughout Europe, and these men back in those days, a lot of them didn't have an education. They were excellent craftsmen, but couldn't read or write.
Yeah.
So how did they travel from country to country? How did they know where to go and what they could do? How could they prove their work and things,
Right, and that's where the secret handshakes come in, and different secret signs, so you're able to tell one from another.
Yeah, the different symbols and signs. Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because otherwise you go hire somebody to build your cathedral who doesn't know what he was doing.
Exactly. And, the Entered Apprentice was a very, very important degree, and now, just like us, somebody comes and they take their Entered Apprentice degree, they want to get their work done in a month,
right,
so they can take their fellowcraft degree.
Yeah.
But back then, they were Entered Apprentices for years and years and years learning the craft.
And personally, a lot of people disagree, but I really think we kind of rush people through it too quick, or not necessarily us, but I mean, I was the same way. Whenever I was an Entered Apprentice, I wanted to hurry up and become a fellow craft. I wanted to hurry up and become a Master Mason, but I kind of wonder, if us doing that is kind of harmful, or if there's a benefit in waiting or not. Of course, if you're the person who's the EA, you want to hurry up and get through, and I understand that.
Well,
but it's EA is a time of learning. That's the time you're supposed to be learning all the, everything involved in EA, and it's kind of the foundation.
Yeah, and I think we ought to back up too a little bit. Once that you fill out a petition in the lodge, and especially now, the Grand Lodge, will send out an email to the lodge education officer, to the master. So there are people that have contact with you, I mean, early on in the process, and kind of let you know what's going on.
Right.
And so there's not as much waiting and anticipation and stuff. You know a little bit more about what's going on in the process now than I think you used to.
Right.
Could you imagine being initiated back during the medieval times?
Yeah.
Wonder what one of those initiations would be like.
Yeah, because it is from the time your petition, and I think that was the worst part of, not that it's bad, but the worst part of the whole process. You fill out your petition, and if you fill it out, the second week of the month, well, then you've got to wait a whole
almost 2 months before you get in.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, actually, I know on my petition it got misplaced, and so it ended up being 2 months before I actually got voted on. And the whole time you're like, am I going to get blackballed, or am I going to get rejected?
That don't happen very often, but occasionally.
Yeah, but if you're on the, if you've never been in, you don't know that.
Right.
And so you're waiting and waiting, and then finally you do get, accepted. Then you got to wait another month, or usually it's not. I guess we wait about a week, don't we? We try to get them in pretty quick, but if your schedule doesn't line up, it'll be a few more weeks. So
yeah, you can be interviewed throughout the month. It depends, but yeah, and like I say, there's someone kind of guiding you along in the process all along now, and I think that's a good thing that we've started doing. That way you're not just totally out there in anticipation, waiting and watching and wondering and things. But
I think from the time somebody turns a petition in, somebody should be in contact with them and talking with them and let them know kind of what's going on as much as you can. This is the step you're in.
Again, I mean, even to go back a little further, before you fill out a petition, you're not going to have a Mason come up and ask you. I've seen some things online and stuff say, well, you've got to be invited in and all that. No. It's posted. When meetings are usually on the sign on front of the lodge, or posted on Facebook or on the websites of all the lodges. And
actually, I know a lot of Grand Lodges, not just in Ohio, but I know Indiana and several of the others. You can actually go online now and fill out a petition, and it'll get it to the lodge that's near your home.
You. Yeah, that's the same way Ohio is, and that works out very well.
I know for myself, that's one reason why it took me so long before I petitioned, because, they say, well, ask a Mason. Well, I don't know a Mason, my dad's already been passed away since I was 18, so, I mean, I didn't know any Masons. And
well, if someone don't know, hey, go. When they're having a meeting, you see cars around. I don't know a brother here that wouldn't say, our petition packets are right here on the wall, inside of our lodge. And I know we have some communications, our bulletin boards and things. And hey, the brothers here, if we're here or somebody, we'd gladly get you a petition.
Oh, absolutely.
And nobody's going to come and ask you and invite you. You may have someone in Ohio say you'd make a good Mason. Right. But other than that, it's of your own free will and accord.
Yeah, but for someone who's introverted, it's kind of hard to make that, make that step. And that's why I encourage anybody who's listening to go out to whatever state you're in, look up the Grand Lodge, and see if they have a link there. If not, like you said, walk into the lodge. But speaking of personal opinion, it's hard for me just to walk in somewhere I don't know. it's a lot easier for me now since I've been in lodge. I'm actually a lot more confident in what I do. I was at a wedding, matter of fact, yesterday, where I had to get up in front of everybody and do something. And several years ago, I wouldn't. I'd been terrified. Now just go up there, start talking.
Exactly. But back then, like the old stone guilds and things, the old ways, that was operative masonry,
Right.
where they actually worked in those crafts. Now we have an operative mason can still become a mason, but we're speculative masons.
What is that? Can you?
It's a person that doesn't work in stone. You may sell insurance or something, but we learn from the tools and the symbolism of the things that the ancient stonemasons guilds used to use.
So if somebody says operative, that's actually a stonemason.
A stonemason.
And then
speculative is someone that works in another
right.
field.
Correct.
Yeah. And
now we're pretty much all speculative at this point.
Yeah. We've had several operative masons that worked in the bricklayers unions and things in our lodge, and probably still a few. Yeah. But and once you're an entered apprentice, and that's just like our Grand Master. I don't know if I'm sure that he put out an edict this year that entitled, once you're an entered apprentice, you're forever an entered apprentice. You are a Mason. I mean, there's a time in the ritual that you go from being called by your last name to being called brother. Right. And you'll forevermore be called brother.
Let me get
in the lodge.
So in Ohio, as soon as I become an entered apprentice, then I'm a
Mason. Okay. Yes, so once you've been obligated, taking your obligation, you are a Mason.
I think in Ohio, can't we now, if I was to pass away as an entered apprentice, I can have
Masonic funeral service.
Okay, that's I think I saw that edict.
Yes, and I think that's a good thing.
Right.
And it doesn't force someone into hurrying through their degrees and things. You can come. I know when I first joined in Ohio, you had to be a Master Mason to attend the business meetings because they were only open in the Master Mason degree. And you can't attend any other degree. If you're an entered apprentice, you can only enter apprentice degrees. If you're a fellow craft, you can go to the entered apprentice and the fellow craft degrees. And in a Master Mason, of course, you can go to all three. But they're now, and it's been this way for several years here in Ohio, and other states are different. You would want to check with the Grand Lodge there in those states. But in Ohio, now, if we have an entered apprentice come to a business meeting, we will open the lodge in the entered apprentice degree so he can stay with us. And I think the benefits of that are that enables that person to see what goes on in a meeting. You don't, we would even give you some say if you had a comment about something or, but you don't have any voting rights until you're a Master Mason. Okay. You can't vote on a new candidate or anything like that. And there's certain other things that you can't do as an entered apprentice, like wear jewelry and things in Ohio, other than they do make a entered apprentice pin, and you could wear that. And matter of fact, the Grand Master's pin that he put out this year, even entered apprentices can wear it. Okay. Because it's not degree specific. And there's you can go on the Grand Lodge website and read an explanation of his pen. It's pretty enlightening. Yeah. But you are a Mason, and like I say, you'll be called brother once you've been through your entered apprentice degree.
So, changing up a little bit, let me ask you this: when I drive over to West Virginia, which across the river, and I see the sign over there, it says Masons. I can't remember exactly, but it says AF and M. Over here, we say F and M.
Well, the thing about that, the before the United Grand Lodge of England was chartered. You had two separate entities in England, in English Masonry. You had the moderns, which were the free and accepted Masons, and then you had the ancient, which are the ancient free and accepted Masons, AF and AM and F and AM. Okay, as Masonry came to the colonies in the United States, some lodges were chartered out of lodges that were AF and AM, like some states or the ancient free and accepted.
So they're the first ones, right? And then the moderns.
Actually, the moderns are older than the ancients,
really?
According to what I've read.
Okay.
Yeah, and but you know, that's neither here nor there, because it probably would just be hashing up old, opening old wounds or something. But we don't want to do that. But the thing of it is, in the United States, lodges also, some were chartered under the free and accepted, or F and AM.
Okay.
Some were chartered under the AF and AM. So then, you know, we're governed not by one Grand Lodge of the United States. We're governed by 51 different Grand Lodges in the United States.
Each state, each individual state
has.
Each
state and the District of Columbia has their own. That's how we come up with 51. So the states had the choice whether they wanted to change, you know, to the AF and AM or F and AM. There is very little difference in any of the ritual or anything. I mean, you've been to other states and watched Masonic degrees. Here where we live in an area where we can do that relatively easy. There's some differences, but it's the same thing. It's usually just done in a little bit different order, a little bit different wording, you know, but you're going to get the same degrees no matter.
So in other words, an EA here is the same as an EA in West Virginia or into other states. I know several other states.
Exactly. And once you become an Entered Apprentice, you can go to an Entered Apprentice lodge anywhere. Right. Now, you have to prove yourself. You have to prove. You won't have a membership card. You won't have, you know, things you have to prove yourself by two ways: either knowing the work and knowing how to answer all their questions so that you can prove that you're an Entered Apprentice, or go with someone that has sat in a lodge with you before, that has also sat in the lodge where you're visiting, and then they can vouch for you and get you in.
So that's why we have the secrets. That way, just not anybody can go in there. You actually have to know what you're doing.
You have to know what you're doing to get in the lodge.
Otherwise, anybody could walk into another state, say, oh, I'm a member of this lodge at this state, and be able to go in.
Yeah, you could have, I mean, I've went to other states. I went to Tennessee. I had my driver's license with a photo ID. I had my membership card. And I still had to go in the, you know, into the Tyler's room and answer his questions, which I didn't have any problem doing, you know. And I think that's a good thing. It's not something to fear, you know, because they want to work with you. They want you visiting also, if you're legitimately a member, you know.
Now, as an EA, you don't have a membership card yet. It's not till, in Ohio at least, I don't know about other states, until you actually reach the Master Mason. So, so it's important.
And even now, that's getting a little more different. I mean, a little more, we're issued a plastic card. It's a permanent card now, but you can go online and you can pull up your current membership and all that kind of stuff. But or there's a phone number on the back that they can call to find out your membership status and all that kind of stuff, if they will do that. You know, they're not obligated to do that.
Well, 7 o'clock at night or whenever they're about to have lodge. I don't know if anybody.
Yeah. Well, that's even like lodges. I mean, to kind of get off the subject a little bit, but there is a what's called a book of lodges, and they can actually look your lodge up. Down in Tennessee, they done that. They want to know where I went to lodge, and I told them, you know, I belong to Proctorville 550 in Proctorville, Ohio. They looked us up in their book of lodges.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to make sure that, you know, we weren't a clandestine lodge, you know, that we were in full fellowship
Yeah.
with the Grand Lodge of Ohio.
And we can save that for another episode, but I know there are a lot of clandestine lodges
Yeah,
out
not
there.
so many in Ohio,
Yeah.
I don't think,
No.
but around the world and different
Right.
places there are.
And that's what is it? So anybody who's listening, what would what's considered a clandestine?
That's a
lodge?
lodge that's not recognized by any governing body, like the United Grand Lodge of England or, the Grand Lodge of Ohio or whatever state that they're in.
Like I've run a home and I get a bunch of my buddies say, let's be Masons. And then we make up some rituals and make up a bunch of stuff and then start calling ourselves Masons.
Exactly.
And so,
yeah.
Yep.
And, but not be affiliated with a Grand
Right.
Lodge or anything.
Yep.
Yeah. And, like I say, I've never ran into that anywhere, but I'm sure there are places, different around the world,
Yep.
but it's but back to the Entered Apprentice,
Right.
once you're an Entered Apprentice, like I said, you are a Mason, and you'll forever be called brother. And then, like you said, in Ohio, we're entitled to even funeral service
Right.
and everything now. If the family requests that, that's something that's optional and stuff. But what do you think some of the benefits of being an Entered Apprentice are?
Well, as we mentioned, it's like the first day of school. So you actually start learning that foundation, learn that base of what it means to be a Mason, start learning about the different tools that we use and how to use them. And mostly it's just getting comfortable with, being around a bunch of strangers, with a bunch of strange men, knowing that you are supported in anything you do. I've seen several people come through and that first degree is always the hardest because you don't know and you're always nervous, but it helps to reinforce that brotherly love, or, knowing that I'm surrounded by people who actually wants to see me succeed and are here to help me along my path and along my way.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and people will, come alongside of you and put their arm around you
Right.
and not condemn you, but help lead you along,
Right.
and I think that's good. It's really a personal journey. I mean, there's things that happen to you during the degree and that's just like learning your ritual, that you have to, we call it work,
Right.
but in Ohio, once you've taken your Entered Apprentice degree or your Fellowcraft or your Master Mason degree, there is some work that you have to do. Right. And then you have to come back to the lodge and you have to prove that you're proficient in that work. Right. And in our case, there's three ways. I mean, there's what we call the Proficiency exam, which is basically going over, it's question and answers about things that you've done, and some of the ways we recognize one another, some of the passwords and things like that we use, the so-called secret things and
so before you can make that next step up to Fellowcraft, you need to you have to prove that the Entered Apprentice.
Yes, we have the Proficiency exam. Right. Then we have what's called minimum proficiency. And then there is also another way that is where you do some research and you do questions and essay type answers to those questions. Okay. Really delve in. And, a lot of times you can memorize a list of questions and answers, right. But that's the thing. We need to reflect on that. I mean, just because you can stand up there and recite a bunch of things, that doesn't make you a Mason. Right. What makes you a Mason are the things that are in your heart.
Knowing what you're saying, what it means, versus being a parrot and just repeating what you heard.
Live it out. Right. Your life. Let your life be the light. Let your life be the example before other people that they want to emulate some of the things that you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of public misconceptions, about Masonry. just like the secret society
Yeah.
thing, I mean, there's that gets blown way out of proportion,
What is it? We're a society with secrets.
Yeah, it's what a lot of people like to say, But even that, I think that kind of fuels the fire a little bit.
Right.
But, I mean, it's just like personal things. It's like business at the lodge. A lot of the things we do, I wish they were more public because, we should be recognized for some of the things we do out in public, but we don't seek that. We don't seek recognition for those things. It's things that you should just be doing anyway, just to help your fellow man.
And like we said, the secrets is all about just so if I go over to another lodge or if I go to another state, they know who I am. They realize that, I am.
Be able to identify yourself and to let them, let the other lodge know that you are who you say you are. And you've progressed through those degrees that you say that you're part of. Yeah. And that's like, the family, your family. You don't talk about your family finances out in the world to everybody. It's the same way with our business meetings and things, which Entered Apprentice is entitled to come to the business meetings in Ohio. And we don't go out talking about, the charities we give to or the things that we do. Let the people there tell one another if they choose to.
I'll tell you, another big misconception is that we're spooky or elitist, which is, not true at all. We're more spiritual and symbolic in what we do.
We've got people in our lodge right here that are in the medical profession. We've got people that work on garbage trucks. And absolutely nothing wrong with that. We need those people. And we've got people that from all walks of life. And when we come together here as Masons, like one of the sayings we have, we meet upon the level, and we don't look at that. And that's one good thing, I
know coming in, that's one of the, as an EA, that's, something that, you don't know, because everywhere you go in society, you're judged, it seems like. If you walk into a classroom, are you wearing the latest trends or are you wearing old clothes? If you speak, do you speak this way or do you speak like a hillbilly like us? And so everything's being judged. And that's, whenever you first walk in, that's what you're used to. That's what you've experienced out in the world. But once you get in and once you start learning the EA or the Entered Apprentice, then you learn, other Masons, you're equal to them. It doesn't matter if they're the president. Whenever you come into the lodge, you are equal.
Yeah, I think it was Truman, President Truman, that his gardener was the master of the lodge whenever he was taking some of his degrees.
Really?
Yes. And, his gardener was there. Yes. I'm almost sure it was President Truman that was the occasion.
Inside lodge, we're actually taught personal responsibility, virtue, brotherhood, and just helping each other out. That's
morals, how we should treat our fellow man.
So the EA degree, kind of sum it up, is to give you the base of being taught that stuff to build on. Basically, that's your foundation. To be able to build up to the next degrees.
Exactly. And I think it's very important, and it's very important for anyone that's looking at getting into Masonry or somebody that's already into Masonry, is to reflect on, the things that are going to be happening to you or the things that you've experienced, and turn it inward and relate it to, how can this make me a better person?
Right.
How did the lessons I learned here help me to be a better father, a better husband, a better worker, or a better boss, or a better leader in our community? There's some great lessons.
So if I was going to build a house, I don't want to hire the guy who's never built one before. I want to hire the person who learned how to build it, then started working with somebody else how to build it, and then now he oversees everybody building it. And that's kind of what the Entered Apprentice is we're in school right now. We're learning how to be Masons, and that way we can progress up and actually become master builders or master Masons. Would that be a good summary?
Yeah,
Yep.
It's very good. Yeah, you know, Masonic education is important. You know, there's a lot of things, and once you're an Entered Apprentice, that are opened up to you, just like through our Grandview system and things. There's a whole host of different things that you can read and studies that you can do to make you a better person and to help you become all that you can be.
Well, I think that's wraps up our Entered Apprentice talk. And this is going to be a 3-series episode. Today we just finished up with the Entered Apprentice. Our next one will be Fellowcraft, and then we'll finish it off with Master Mason, just work our way through all 3.
Exactly. And I would like to say, too, if someone has any questions or any comments, please feel free to send us an email or send us a private message on our Facebook page, Labor to Refreshment.
That's new since the last time, too.
Yeah, we've got a Facebook page.
Yeah.
And Brother Raymond will give you our email address, and of course you can always listen. I mean, I know Brother Daniel Priest. He's been a very big help the last couple episodes. Right. He even got us on YouTube.
Yeah, and so everybody know we have Brother Daniel Priest, who's behind the camera. And even though he should be in front, he's the best looking one out of us, but he hides behind the camera.
And the youngest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most knowledgeable.
So our email address is labor2refreshpodcast@gmail.com. And that's the number 2. That's labor, the number 2, refreshpodcast@gmail.com. And then, as you mentioned, we're on Facebook at Labor to Refresh, and we're also on X at Labor to Refresh. You can follow us anywhere on any of those. We're on Spotify. We're on pretty much all the streaming platforms now. And feel free to comment, good or bad. Criticism doesn't bother me, so feel free to comment. And
you can even listen to us on iHeartRadio podcast.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So,
well, Raymond, I appreciate it. I appreciate all that you do, and I hope this segment's been enlightening to someone. And like I say, if you have any questions, please feel free to let us know, and stay tuned for the Fellowcraft.
Yep, that'll be
coming up next.
Yep, and hopefully in about 2 weeks. I think we're trying to do about 2 weeks, give or take a few days, but we try to do it every 2 weeks. I have one, so that'll be our next one.
Yep. We'll see you then.
Thank you.